You about another law that your committee has helped to write when the Democrats were in control, namely the Affordable Care Act. As we all know, the Supreme Court is expected to rule in the next few days on the constitutionality. We know that House Republicans, starting with Speaker Boehner, and you included, have said that the whole law should be repealed.
Right.
Can you offer, what do you do after that? What are some positive, forward-looking steps that Republicans are talking about moving through the House, or that you might even take in the next month or two?
That's a good question, one asked quite a bit. I hear it quite a bit, but I need to put it in the context of the first statement that you made. The reason that Speaker Boehner and I and others constantly talk about repealing the entire law is it's very difficult to make any reforms, enact anything that we think would improve the system while you still have that law or remnants of that law on the books. It's very, very confusing. So when we were having the debate before this was jammed through on Christmas Eve, as I recall, Republicans had offered a number of proposals to address many of the issues that this Affordable Care Act was supposed to address. We wanted to look at things that would address the pre-existing conditions and build high-risk pools, and we had legislation to do that. We think it's very important when you're trying to lower costs that you address some of the cost drivers, like defensive medicine and lawsuits, and so we had a proposal to get some medical liability reform, which, by the way, was scored at saving just the government piece of this over $50 billion. We still think that's a very important thing.
And we might see some of these ideas that Republicans talked about a couple of years ago. You might not recycle, but raise them in
yes,
some version of them.
The answer to your question is yes, but we want to be very careful not to do what Speaker Pelosi and the Democrats did in jamming through legislation. So nowhere in our discussions are we looking at a big 2,700 page or 2,200 page or some 1,000 page replacement bill for the Affordable Care Act. We think that's the wrong thing to do. You don't want to rush anything through at the last minute. We actually want everybody to read the doggone thing. By the way, a little fact that I always find interesting, we've been sort of tracking the number of pages of regulations that follow this. We're now over 12,000 pages of regulations, and they're not through writing them yet. It's no wonder that when you talk to businesses, which I do a lot, men and women, whether it's a large company, and we have a lot of those in Minnesota, or a small business, they are, as my mother would say, they're flummoxed. They don't know what to do. They don't know what's going to happen to them. They're trying to figure out what their costs will be. They are considering dropping coverage or not offering coverage. They simply don't know. So it's very, very important when the Supreme Court acts that, again, we, the Congress, takes action to clear the whole thing off the books so you don't have all that uncertainty, and we can start to address these issues, pre-existing conditions, the cost, other programs like getting economies of scale through association health plans. There are a lot of ideas that need to be brought forward, but it's impractical to bring those when you have what's potentially remnants of this law.